Hi, this is Pam, Pamagropy Art, and welcome back. We are going to today paint hollyhocks. Now, this is a step-by-step on how to paint basic hollyhocks, and also I'm going to do a workshop over on my courses site that will do this painting here. But for today, we're going to do the simple step-by-step of how to paint basic hollyhocks. And I'm going to be using, this is watercolor paper, so I probably should get some floating medium, just sometimes it drags a little bit. And the colors I'm going to use today is citrus green and thicket. These are my two favorite greens that I use a lot in my paintings. Baby pink, magenta, wicker white, and probably some bright pink. I may or may not use one of these colors. I'm just going to see how it goes. So let's get started on painting our hollyhocks. So let's get started with the leaves. I'm going to be using the 3/4 inch brush and probably also the number 12 flat brush. I will scale down if I feel the need to on this basic background. So we're just going to do the stems and leaves. I'm double loading my brush, as you can see here, and working it in so I have plenty of paint in my brush. And then I'm going to start leading with the citrus. I don't want both of them the same height. I want one to be a little bit shorter than the other. Don't worry about being perfect. Just pull a line. And this one, I can pull it again a little bit more firmly. But remember, a lot of it's going to be behind the flowers. So let's not get too over anxious about the stem. It's the background, it's not the main event. So now I'm going to do the top little, would you say little buds? And I'm just going to set my brush down on the chisel edge, and I'm just going to make a little loop. And I have the outside color is the thicket. So I, again here, put it on the chisel edge and do a little loop. So you're trying to keep this in one spot as you do your loop. Now I'm going to draw some little calyxes. Now see, I got that one all spread, but you know what? It doesn't matter because flowers are going to be on here and or more leaves. So we'll do like a large one here, like we're going to have a large leaf there. And a leaf down there. And we'll see. Now we'll do another little bud here. And maybe one right here coming right off of the stem instead of having its own stem. So we'll do that same here. And this one comes off of this stem. You notice it's dragging a little bit, but I haven't reloaded. So I reload some more. And I'm going to have a leaf come right up behind. There's going to be a flower here, but I'm going to have a leaf come up behind. So I'm just going to do a very exaggerated wiggle leaf. And that one was with the thicket on the outside. See, I'm just wiggling my brush. I don't have a ton of pressure on it. Now, one thing about hollyhocks is different types of hollyhocks have different types of leaves. Some resemble more of an oak leaf and very serrated like that, and others are more of a heart-shaped leaf. And I've grown both types, and it's just very interesting how they could have such different leaf structures, but they do. So now I'm starting, and I've got the thicket on the inside, and I'm doing the same thing. And I will tell you that backwards leaves for me are a real challenge. You see, it's very dry. So I will come back with more. I didn't really load much thicket. I want more citrus green. And I'm going to come back the opposite direction. And then I'm going to drag the center. Now, that's a very poor leaf, but because it's going to be behind a flower, it doesn't matter. You're going to cover up a good portion of it And I'm just going to fix that tip and leave it alone. Get away from trying to be perfect. I'm telling you now, that's not going to work with me. So here I'm going to do another leaf. And I should dip it in floating medium, work it in because this is dry. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do this one more heart-shaped, I do believe. And I need more thicket on there. I'm not pleased with the amount of thicket. Okay, you notice that? And it's going to come to a point like that. And I will drag the vein. Now this one over here is going to be kind of almost a bud-like leaf. And I'm going to have the citrus on the outside. And I'm just going to make it almost fan-shaped. And that's fine. We'll come back to do the flowers there in a moment. Let's do a leaf over here. So let's do the V. And this time I'll start with the citrus on the outside. And that's dragging. So I will get a little floating medium so that it makes a smoother edge. And then I'm not going to start over here. I'm going to start as if it's behind that stem. Now, fix your tips. When I don't like the tips, too long. On paper, if it was on a painted surface, I could fix that. Or if I was doing a background, I could use background color to fix that color, kind of a negative painting. So this is going to have a flower over it, so I'm not too stressed about what this side looks like. Alrighty, that's plenty of leaves for now. We could put one up here. Maybe we will. Go ahead and put one up here. Just kind of a, maybe just a little a rounded leaf, no tip. And just kind of pull that one. I'm at an odd angle, so I'm going to turn this. So it's kind of a flipped up leaf. Okay, so we have our leaves and we're going to let them dry. We're going to let them dry because I'm going to come over where I place my flowers and I'm going to undercoat where it's going to go over the green because pink and reds are not opaque and the green will show through and I don't want that. So in the meantime, I guess we could paint little grass, whatever you can do, play around. We don't have to do that. Can even make it longer, what have you. I'll show you what I mean. This is on top of the background on this one, but you see how it's got the stems and what have you, kind of a wild jungly look down there. But anyways, we'll go ahead and let this dry, and then I'll come back and we will undercoat the hollyhock flowers. So the leaves are dry, and now I'm going to go in with wicker white and I'm going to undercoat where my hollyhocks are going to be placed. You see how they're placed right over top of things? So up here's some buds and then here's some full flowers down here. So I have the wicker white on my palette and I'm going to also get a little floating medium. Don't know that I'll need it here, but I'm going to load with the wicker white. Yeah, I could tell it's just a little thick. So I'm going to decide on where my flower placements are going to be. And I want one right here. And I'm just making the V and then placing a scallop leaf. You notice how I put on the edge, press, wiggle, 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 and bring it around. Now the thing about hollyhocks is the petals overlap. And so you can just go around the circle with your scalloped petals. And if you want to put more petals, just make them a little bit smaller and overlap them a little bit more. I'm not real worried about it. All I'm wanting to do is get an undercoat of white so that you don't see the green as readily. Now if you want smaller flowers, you can come in with a number 12 flat brush. So I'm going to put another one down here, the same scalloped leaf or petal stroke. And this is very similar to the one I use for my pansies and other type flowers like this. I think pansies is pretty much the closest one. So I have that one. Now it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to exactly go over it precisely when I do the next layers. And you know what? This one I want a little bit smaller, so I'm going to press a little bit lighter as I go around and not have quite as big of petals. And it's slightly overlapping the bottom one. Now I'm going to have some little buds, maybe one like right here. And again, if you're more comfortable with a smaller brush, go ahead and switch to your number 12. And when I do the actual buds, I probably will do those with a number 12. And I'm going to have just a little scoop for that one. And then a little scoop for this one. So that one really doesn't need to be undercoated because it's not really on top of the green except for where I really want green to show. And then I'm going to have a bud, like a backwards facing bud over here. And that one's not really overlapping, so I'll just do it as a marking, a placement. Now I did a large petal scoop there, smaller one there, and then I'm just going to come across right there. Just a slashing stroke to make the bottom of the petal. So now if this one area here, I want it to be a little more opaque, I can go over it one more time with the white once this coat has dried. And I may do that just on the areas where it's on the green, just to make sure I don't get that see-through from the green on the petals of the flowers. So there's another one that's kind of facing sideways up here, and I think a little portion of it may sit right there. So I'm not real sure, but we'll go ahead and do that placement for that one too. I know you probably can't see that very well except on the leaves, but that's fine too. And on like a painting, like this painting, I went over the leaves twice, so they were a little bit more opaque too. You see how this is kind of see-through? So that's just a hint that you may or may not want to do that for opacity. So okay, especially if it's on a lighter background. On a darker bright background, you may not need to go over it twice to get the opacity. Okay, let's let this white dry and I'll come back and I'll show you how I paint the hollyhocks. Now most of the white background is dry. There's a little bit wet down here where I went over it a second time. But we're going to start up here with the buds. Now I've switched to a number 12 flat. And I am loading it. I decided to do bright pink with the baby pink. And if I want to lighten up the baby pink, I add a little white, but for now I think it's good. And this one is kind of a ruffly top bud. It's more than just a simple little bud, and it has a little scallop to the top. And we'll leave that one. You see how the white really helped the green not to come through. And so here, this one is just a little scoop stroke. Just you're starting the chisel edge, go up, pull it back down. And because I did it several times, I've got lots going on there. But the calyx is going to cover some of that, so that's all good. And we'll do one more over here. Now that one I may want to be a different color because this is a different hollyhock plant. We'll have one here of a certain color and then we'll do another color there. So I'm going to rinse out my brush, dry it off on my towel. I could have just dried it out or just wiped it out on the towel. So I'm going to do maybe baby pink and white. So I'll get some of the white and the baby pink and then make this a little bit of a lighter colored flower. And I'm going to go with the pink on the outside, white on the inside, and do my little scoop. And so there's that one. And you see the difference in the coloration just using a different second color. That both had the baby pink, one had white and one had bright pink. So there is the sideways flower here. So instead of completely washing my brush, I'm just going to wipe it out on a towel. Just wipe it out. And then I'll reload with the bright pink and the baby pink. And I will see if this brush, if I need to go up to another color or a larger size. But this one is kind of got, it's just a sideways one, and I'm just going to be adding the different scoops or scallop strokes along here, and then I'll add a calyx there. The other one on here was a bit larger and a bit further away from the stem, but that's okay. This is all going to work just fine. Always, each one will be different. They will not all be the same. Now, I'm having a little trouble with dividing of lines there, or the coloration. So I'm going to go back in with white on the baby pink side, and I'm going to kind of add another one so you have that differentiation. And then I will come back in with my calyx after the pink has dried. So now we're down to the big flower here. That's still a little bit wet. We'll do that one there. Now that is the white with the baby pink. So I need a little bit more white on my palette here. So I can double load my brush. Now I'm going to go back to my 3/4 inch brush. And I'm going to load it with the two colors. The white and the baby pink. Work it in. Work it in. It's pretty much half and half. Actually, it's a little bit more white than baby pink, but I can do that. So I'm going to have the white on the inside and the baby pink on the outside, and I'm just going to do the scallop stroke. I kind of press 1, 2, 3. That kind of helps to get the paint going, and do a scallop stroke. I'm going to reload because that takes a lot of paint. And you notice that it gums up the white in the center. That's because you're not pulling off as much white as you are the pink. So when you reload with more pink, less white. And that way you won't get a big glob in the center. So we do the same. I'm slightly overlapping that petal, and I'm just doing a scallop stroke. Let me pull it over here a little bit more. And I might need a little bit of floating medium. It's dragging a little bit. And then I'm going to go this way with my scallop stroke. Now I'm kind of at an awkward angle around the camera, but I still got that stroke in there. And it's just the scallop stroke. You can overlap it more if you want to fit in more petals. And each time I go away, over here I'm reloading. So there is that flower. Now we can do this one as well. Same way, except it's a little bit bigger, so I'm going to press a little bit harder and make the scallops a little bit bigger. Now if you want to do something interesting, just put a touch of that darker pink in there and on the baby pink edge. You notice it didn't really even show up, but I can add a little bit more. It just gives it a little more interest. So you can barely see, it's very barely perceptible, that little extra of that dark pink. The middle's a little gloppy, so I'm just going to kind of clean it up. The corner of my brush, nothing big, because you're going to put your center in there, your little I don't know what you call that, a little stamen. So there's your hollyhock blooms. You notice how this one overlapped that one a little bit, and that's good. Either way it could have gone and been just as pretty. So now I'm going to clean my brush a little bit, mostly wipe it out on a dry cloth. Got it pretty clean, and now I'm going to go with the bright pink and the baby pink. So let me get this over here. I'm going to double load with those two colors, work it into the brush, and get it well loaded. And then I'm going to do this one the same way. This one's got big blousy petals. It's just the scallop stroke, and I am just overlapping them. I'm going to get a little bit more of the bright pink on my palette here. So I always have plenty of paint. And this one I'm going to go this way. Now, I'm not trying to be precise going over the edge of the white. You notice some even came over a little bit further. That's okay. You can see the green through there, but it gives it a touch of dimension. And one last one. I'm not liking the way this one ends there, so I'm just going to go back over it. And there you have your bright pink flower. And it wouldn't hurt to put another one down here if I wanted, but I'm going to leave that for now. This is just the demo of the ones. Now there's one here that I need to do, the backward facing one. And that's just going to be the center. And a small side. And a small side, and then a little slash down there for like a truncated stroke. So there we have our blooms, just layered scallop stroke for our hollyhocks. Now what's nice, or what you can do, and that's why I did the workshop on this tall, narrow canvas, is that way you can make it longer, make them taller so that it's more like a hollyhock. And I could have maybe started these way up here and made them a bit so you could have more flowers down here. But this is just a demo, how to do your basic hollyhocks. And like I said, the workshop will have more details, etc. So now I'm cleaning out my brush. Love my brush bin. I've shared this before, because it's got the ribs in the bottom, and it really helps to get the paint out of your brush. And so you can always keep your brushes. This brush I've probably had 4 years. So, you take good care of your brushes. I had to do the tape on it because I had let it sit in the water and it expanded the wood handle and it cracked the paint. So that was my bad. Don't leave your brushes sitting in water very long. It's just, I had walked away, got busy doing something else, and it happens, but it's not good for your brushes. So if you take good care of them, you should be able to use your brushes for a long, long time. I'm going to show you some of my latest brushes just because they're so fun, and I'll link to them so that you can get some too. But these ones, these are the new Donna Dewberry set. Folk Art One Stroke, and it has several in here, several sizes. This is not all of them, this is just some of them, but I'm really having a lot of fun with these brushes. And there's even one like here, I got to do this. This is like a hair brush or a rake brush, and you make hair on animals and stuff. I haven't done that one yet or used it. I'm dying to paint some critters and try that one out. Okay, so we want everything to dry. Pretty much, not totally. I forgot to tell you at the beginning, I'm going to use yellow for the stamens in the center. I didn't bring that out. So let's get out my yellow. I got that over here in my little rack. And I got lemon custard or daffodil. Either one of those is really good. Daffodil. I think I'll do the daffodil. It makes a nice bright stamen in the center. So stamen, this is daffodil yellow. Sorry about that when I gave you the first. I'm going to get some greens out on my palette because the greens I had before are dried because that was yesterday I built that. Late in the day. Alrighty, so now we have our greens on our palette, and we're going to put our, what are not stamens, calyxes on our flowers. I'm double loading with the two colors, and I'm going to lead with the citrus and follow with the thicket, and I'm just going to do a little chisel edge stroke up the sides of the blossom. You notice I didn't get it perfect all the way up there. That's fine. That is all good. And that just cradles that bloom. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do except one. I almost, what I call my slider leaf. You kind of start at an angle and pull it up. And that creates a stamen or calyx for that, over that bud. So just giving it different styles. Same here, I'm going to do that same little stroke, the slider leaf, and that creates that little stamen on that, or little calyx. I keep saying stamen, sorry. All right, now for this one, this is the center that's a little wet, but let's see if we can get it going. Get it on there. Now I'm just going to have a little dot, and then I'm going to do little chisel edge, tiny slider leaf strokes, and that creates the stamen on that one, calyx, and then I'll drag the stem in. So there's that one. The rest of these don't have any little, oh, this one right here. Sorry. Same deal. Load with your paint and just do some slider, side slider strokes. And I don't think that really needs a stem because this leaf is coming up over it. If it was further away, I would have a tiny stem connecting it to the main stem. So there are the calyxes on the backwards facing flower and the buds. Now let's do, my battery's dying here, so I'm going to try to hurry so I don't have to come back. Let's do the stamens. Now I'm going to do it with the corner of the yellow. If you want to do it with a liner brush, you can. But basically, it's just like almost like a trumpet. So here is the back end of the trumpet, and then create a little line across, and that widens it like a trumpet. There's maybe on that one you'll see it better. Oh, on the white. See, I drag it down a little bit from the center, and then I come across it, and it makes a trumpet shape in the center. Now, if you want to just make them round, go right ahead. But if you notice, if you look at them, hollyhocks, they have this kind of trumpet shape center. And if you want to come in and highlight on the yellow later, just to give it a little touch of white in there, it makes it a little concave looking. That one needs a little bit more. And there you have your hollyhocks. And some of them I have drug in like a little bit of highlighting, like I'll with the chisel edge of my brush on each petal, just out from the center. But that's totally optional. But it adds an added detail that you may wish to add. And in here, I might do that with the pink. And I'll add a little bit of, especially when it's still slightly wet, it kind of blends in with the center color. and just gives an added bit of detail. Be gentle, or you want it to be subtle. You don't want it to overpower. And there you have it, my friends. And that is how you paint hollyhocks, one easy stroke at a time. You can do these in white with green centers, yellow centers. Look at different hollyhocks and even look at the different leaf structures, and you can switch them up and make them how you would like to make them using these basic instructions. So please, if you want to do a whole painting, check out my full course or workshop on doing a hollyhock painting on a long canvas, long narrow canvas. Alrighty, I will see you in the next video.